Hi, my name is Jen, and I am a soon-to-be self-published author, bumbling my way through the process from first draft to first publish. And today I am continuing my series on what my engagement with alpha readers has looked like. So we talked about how I used cards to find alpha readers. I talked about the Google form I used to connect with and identify who wants to do what in terms of support. And today what I want to talk about is how I handled confidentiality and copyright. So I did communicate with my pastor's wife, who has published 2 books, and we had a good conversation because I thought about trying to get a copyright. The problem is I don't want a copyright on the first draft. I want a copyright on the final draft, right? And so we discussed some options, and what I want to do today is show you what those options looked like and what I decided to do ultimately. I will also say every single one of my alpha readers are people I know personally, so it's not like I expect them to try to steal my Bible study and run off with it. My biggest concern was their discretion, like them understanding how important it is to keep this private, not necessarily that they would intentionally do something. So I decided to do 2 things in order to kind of help address that in a way that felt really official, but in all honesty has 0 binding power. I didn't want to have like an actual contract, but I wanted it to be like a very like, hey, seriously, this is something you have to keep quiet, right? So I did 2 things. I know this will surprise you, but one of those things is a Google form, and then one of them is the way that I formatted the output of the draft. So first we're going to look at the Google form. So this is what it looks like. Again, this is 100% not binding. It's just a form that I created, right? And this is my let me show them how important it is kind of form. So I talk here about, hey, this is a confidentiality agreement. Again, I always want to go back to like, thank you, thank you, thank you. I could not create this book at the quality that I want if I didn't have people willing to read it and give me feedback, right? So I started with that. And then it asks for their email. And then these are just 3 I agree statements. So social media, by participating as an alpha reader, you agree to refrain from posting about writing your story with God and any social media or other information. This includes images, experts, and general discussion of the work. So why did I have that? I just wanted to make it clear that this is not a thing they could talk about on social media, right? Distribution and duplication. By participating as an alpha reader, you agree to refrain from duplicating and or distributing, writing your story with God in whole or in part without permission. Again, I don't think they would, but to make it very clear, like you can't take a picture and send it to your friend, because it's not something I want out there. And then finally, discussion. Although we're all excited while participating as an alpha reader, please refrain from discussing specifics of the study until it is under copyright. Feel free to share what God is teaching you to your friends, family, or community groups, but refrain from mentioning the specific layout, design, and format of writing your story with God. I feel like I'm taking a unique approach. I don't feel like the Bible study that I've written is something that is already out there. It's very unique, and I'm trying to keep that concept under wraps until I have a copyright. And then finally, I just said, by selecting I agree above and typing your full name below, you agree to maintain confidentiality to the best of your ability. And so again, this is a non-binding, just a Google form, but it was just kind of like check, 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 and then typing in their name. But it was more about creating that feeling and that understanding of like, this is what it means to keep something under wraps. And no one had a problem with this. I am very thankful that everybody was very understanding. No one was like, what do you mean I gotta sign an agreement? Can't you trust me? I feel like this worked out really, really well and has been great. So the second thing I want to show you is how I actually formatted the book itself. So as you can see, this is just one of the pages. So there's 2 different versions. One is the version I sent them as PDF. So originally I was only sending them PDFs. And this is a 6-week Bible study. So I sent them 6 weeks of PDFs. I did that because I was uploading them into a Google Drive and I didn't have it finish when I wanted to. And so I uploaded weeks 1, 2, and 3, and then I uploaded weeks 4, 5, and 6 over the next several days. And so the 2 things I did on that is I had this diagonal imperfect progress that is the name of my YouTube channel. It is the name of kind of like my blog. It has been for a long time. Someday I'm gonna post a video about why Imperfect Progress and what that means. But so that's the name of the publishing house that I'm creating right now in Illustrator. So that was across diagonally, and then across the top it says this is not for distribution or resale or whatever. And then at the bottom is a form link, which we will talk about in another video. So that was how I did them for distribution. Now, this is a normal 8x5, 8x11 paper size, and all of that is in margins that are super, super tiny because it's not really for print. It's just for them to view on their computer. If they print it out, it might cut off part of that, but it's fine. It's served its purpose. When I went to go upload this to do Kindle Direct, Kindle was like, hey, you have stuff outside the margins, you can't do this. And I tried a bunch of different things, and ultimately I just couldn't have headers or footers. So I had to change the layout kind of substantially, and what I ended up doing was making that diagonal text much more words. And it just said something along the lines of like, this is the property of Imperfect Progress and Jen Barrett, not for distribution or resale. So kind of combined the two things for the print version that went out, because I had to stay inside the margins. So for me, in my opinion, this was enough, because again, these are people I trust. These are people I know. They're not just random people from Discord that I've never met before. And I wanted to create an understanding of like, I'm looking for you to keep this under wraps. And so that was very important to me. I'm really thankful that they've all done a really fantastic job of keeping things, like, I think obviously I'm being very careful about what I do and don't post on social media, but I think I've talked more about this book than all of them combined, which has been really cool. Just that they trust me to control the amount of output. And they've all given really fantastic feedback, which I'm going to talk about in a future video of how I've collected that feedback and what it's looked like and how I'm acting on the feedback. So we are right now like 2.5 weeks into the alpha read. I think I gave it to them kind of mid-February, and now it's kind of early March, so maybe we're around week 3. And it's going fantastically, and I've gotten really solid feedback from all of them, even the people that are not in my necessarily target demographic that are reading through this. And so it's been really great, and I'm glad that I could just give them copies and trust them, because I did have them take this time to go, okay, I'm going to keep it confidential, and I understand the expectation with that. So next week we will look at this again. Next week we're going to talk about how I'm getting feedback from them. I'm really excited to share that with you, and I appreciate all of you that are watching these videos and just following me along on this journey. It is so exciting to think like, I'm going to publish a book this October. I can't wait. It's very exciting, and it's also terrifying. And so thank you for being along on this journey with me. I hope you have a very blessed day, and I'll see you in the next one real soon.